Hello, Jamin Olivencia. How are you?
I'm happy to be alive. How are you, Elisa?
I'm happy to be alive too. I'm
Heck
happy to
yeah.
be living life, the human experience, the emotional
Absolutely.
roller coaster. Now,
Absolutely.
I want you to introduce yourself to the YouTube subscribers, if you wouldn't mind.
Absolutely. What's up, guys? First off, I just want to thank you guys for taking the time to listen to this conversation. I feel that conversations are super important. I feel in conversations we can find a lot of truth through hearing each other's perspectives, learning from each other. It's never about who's right or wrong. So I do want to say that, and also thank you guys for the opportunity. My name is Jamin Olivencia. I come from the professional wrestling world. I'm a personal development ally. What that means, or how that can translate to you, is a life coach or someone who helps you navigate through your own stuff. You can call me a lot of different names, but one of the things that I'm super focused on, super passionate about, is just helping people. Not only helping people, but also helping myself and being that light that I am in a way that helps others be that themselves.
That's interesting. Now, how would you compare yourself to, I mean, some people go to therapists, like psychologists or social worker type counselors. Uh, wouldn't they know what to do? Life coach versus that.
Yeah, life coach, the life coach is a really interesting word to me. Personally, it doesn't resonate all the way with me. And I guess that's maybe because I don't feel like I have answers. I don't feel like I have this particular formula that's going to get you from point A to point B. What I do believe, though, is that I have an enthusiasm and an enormous amount of gratitude that I like to share with others, and I hope that that rubs off on you. So when I call myself a personal development ally, I look at myself as a human being that's in the trenches with you, not so much your commander that is telling you, oh, this or that. Nothing wrong with that or anything like that. Same thing with, being a therapist. I don't know the logistics of what it is to be a therapist, but as a human being, just being as raw as I am, I do know that it takes an enormous amount of empathy and compassion to understand others, hear their points of views, let them speak, allow them to have their own space to be who they are. And in that realm, you will find the answers will come from both sides usually. And it's never about me being right. So I like to think of myself as someone who helps others see the answers within themselves.
That's interesting. When we have chaos in my house, especially when the kids were all younger, I would always say, because they were like, it's his fault, it's her fault, it's his fault, it's your fault. So I say, hey, let's focus on the solution, not the blame, because it just doesn't do
Totally.
any good. Everybody seems to want to be right in this world, and it's so refreshing to me to say, you know what, I made a mistake. I can see your point of view, and I value it. So, you know,
Yeah, the ego is an interesting thing. I just got done, or before we even got on this call, I just finished watching you and Jennifer's video on the ego with Erik, and
oh
I thought it
yeah,
was awesome. I thought it was so good. Because we all have that ego, we all have that animal in us that always wants to be right or wants to say our truth first. And I think I think it's cool to look at that. I think, especially when you're saying you're in a house and everyone's fighting, like you're focusing on the solution. The solution is important. I think it's also cool to just look at the whole entire thing as a whole. Like, why are we experiencing this? Even as I'm on the phone with you right now, I say, okay, well, why are we experiencing this? We didn't come into this conversation with a plan or a particular subject, but what I want to show in this conversation is that you can find so many answers to so many things, and they can all mean different things at all times. And I find that to be super, super helpful. And I think that's something that we miss the value on sometimes. The now that everyone's talking about, living in the now. Like, this is the now. This is the now. And the people that watch this is in the now. So it's not necessarily about you getting some information from me that's going to help you become better, but it's necessarily about you experiencing the actual moment and finding the answers within. And I think that is so important. I just do. So the ego can play a lot into that. And I just thought your video was tremendous. You and Jennifer did a great job. So
yeah, she's
Erik,
awesome.
Erik's the man. I love this whole. I love the whole channeling Erik thing. Have I had a chance to even share with you? I think I did, but how I even got involved with all this, or
No, I don't. You might not have, but my memory is. I'm old. Okay, I'm old, so I might just not remember. But go ahead, tell us.
Well, it's a fascinating story to me because I would have never expected myself to be even in this position that I am now, like just working with you guys. And it's been such a light in my life, and I'm so thankful for it. But I met Erik through having an out-of-body experience.
Oh,
Now,
I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't know that? Yeah.
No, I don't think I did.
Wow, that's fascinating. So out-of-body exploration for me was a thing that's always come natural to me. I'll give you a little background story on me. I was born with spinal meningitis. So
Wow.
the doctors assumed that I would be mentally handicapped, basically. I do believe that this spinal meningitis has given me some type of ability. I don't know what that is. A lot of people use the words clairvoyant, things like this. I never looked at myself as any of that. However, I do experience getting images, getting certain pockets of information. But out of body exploration has always been like the easiest thing for me to do. So as a child, from a kid's perspective, I never had the ability to like retain information. I couldn't do it in school. I just struggled so much. I grew up in special education classes. I got bullied.
Same
did
thing.
you?
So
Really?
I had a lot of problems remembering stuff, and my working memory is really bad because I had a cardiac arrest when I was 6 months old. So that explains a lot. So yeah, I had to really struggle and work twice as hard as my medical student, peers.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, and I thought this whole time you were smarty pants. You just.
I have to really work hard. I really do. To
cool. That's
remember
awesome.
things. Like I get, example. My husband was using my car for some reason, and so I had to go to the grocery store. So I borrowed my daughter's white Jeep. Went there, got the few things I needed, came out, and I thought, oh, Jesus, somebody has freaking stolen my car. I'm looking everywhere for it. And then I realized, oh, wait a minute, I took Michelle's car. And that was just like, So, yeah, things like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're just all crazy. You know what I mean? And then as you say that, I smile because I'm like, oh, wow, I'm just still around the same type of people that are like me in some way. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You're always kind of, your energy goes where just the rest of you are. Like, I feel like you wouldn't be in my experience if we weren't so similar in a certain way. And the same goes with Erik. Like, when I met him in my out-of-body, what's interesting about my out-of-body experiences is, like, I've seen it on your show several times after this experience happened, but like, I heard you guys talking about white, tall whites and things like that. And I've seen all those things. I've seen angels, like, all outside of the body, though, not so much maybe in this particular form. But what I found interesting about the Erik situation is I don't see humans a lot. And he was like in this human form, and he was smoking a cigarette. And he's in the front of a car. He was in the front seat of a car. I was in the back seat of a car. I don't know who was in the passenger seat with him, but somebody was there, and I didn't remember necessarily focusing on him, but all I could see was the side of Erik's face, and he was smoking a cigarette, and he was like, all right, man, what do you want to know? He said something like that. And I just started hitting him with all this information. Like, I was just like, oh, is this true? Is that true? Is just whatever my truths were at the time. It's hard for me to remember the out of body now, but the one thing that stuck with me about it was that he was talking about channeling. He was like, oh, you should get into channeling. And I was just like, eh. And I remember I in the actual experience itself, I was kind of like rolling my eyes at him because I've done channeling and I've looked into channeling, but I've never really got into it. I knew about it, you know, I come from a very spiritual family, you know, but I just didn't understand why he kept telling me to look up channeling, and it was annoying to me because I was like, I already know what channeling is, dude. Like, what do you want? So when I woke up, I remember being like, God, the guy was really emphasizing on channeling. So, you know, maybe I'll look up some videos. I don't know. And I started like looking up videos on YouTube, and you know, I saw the Abraham Hicks, and then there was a lot of people from home just doing it, you know, and in the recommendation box area, it had a picture of Erik, and it said, you know, your guys' channeling Erik. But the picture of Erik, that classic picture that you have of him, that I knew his face. I saw his face. I was like, I know that dude. I met that dude. So I clicked on your guys' video, and I think it was the video that Erik describes his death or something.
Okay.
And I listened to it, and I've always been kind of a skeptic. And I think it's because I am an intuitive dude, and I've seen a lot of people who pretend to be intuitive, and I think I always got it.
Yes.
And you get annoyed. You're like, okay, you know, there's a part of me that feels like, how do you live with yourself and do this at the same time? So anyway, I was always kind of a skeptic, but when I saw the video, it just resonated so deeply with me, and I was like, okay, what's the point of all this? Like, okay, why do I need to see this? Because I am a firm believer that, once again, going back to the now moment, everything in the now is showing you more of you. I really believe that. I believe that.
Interesting. I never thought about that.
I do believe that. I think these are particles of your consciousness, and you're almost seeing it in reflection. Like, once again, I'm talking to you, but I feel like I'm talking to myself. I feel like I'm just talking to another aspect of myself that might have a pocket of information that I need in order to grow. So it's just the way I view things. It's just in my belief system to look at things like that.
Well, sure.
So
I mean, we're all part of a collective. We are
absolutely
different aspects of ourselves. We are all one. But go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, you didn't interrupt at all. And I agree with you. Yeah, like to describe it in its totality, that's what it is. And for me, you know, everyone has different belief systems, and that's cool. And I think that's what we need to do, is like honor each other's belief systems. Like, we're all, you know, excuse my language, but we're all kind of fucking crazy. You know what I mean? So like, we should celebrate that a little bit more.
Absolutely. And we learn from each other and the different perspectives, you know? It helps us tweak our own, or even change our own perspective sometimes.
Absolutely. Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like, we need each other to navigate through life. Yeah. If there was no people here, it would suck. And if there was no challenges, it would suck. If Earth was so peaceful like everyone wants it, it would still suck.
That's
because
right.
You need some type of thing to fight from. You have to come back from something, I feel like. You always have to come from the ground up. Like, for me, growing up in special education classes was some of the best times, not particularly at that time for me, energetically and emotionally. I'd come home crying to my mom every day. But now as an adult, I see the value in, like, I really tried my best in school. I tried everything I could to get by, and I just couldn't. And my teachers would pass me anyway because they saw that I was just working hard.
Yeah.
And I learned a valuable lesson in that. Because no matter what, even if you don't got it together, or even if you walk into a situation that you have no idea how to handle, if you just be the fucking best you can, it's going to work out.
Exactly.
And there's something about that trust. Like, we got it. That's the meaning of faith to me. To just trust that it's going to work. You got to trust it. And it fucking sucks because it may feel like you can't trust it. And going back to the story of like how I didn't know what the whole point of channeling Erik was in my life, but I knew it was something, because I was like, okay, I don't think I'm going to experience this for no reason. So I contacted you via Facebook. I didn't know how to contact you at that time, but I remember like, well, let me contact this woman and just tell her my experience. I think I wrote you a long thing, and then you just wrote, okay, thank you. And I was just like, oh, okay. You know, I wanted a little bit
Oh
more.
my God. I know. I get hundreds of emails, and especially the ones that say, I know you're really busy and don't have very much time, but like a whole
Totally.
paper. This email will come out in paperback in 30 days, that sort of thing.
Totally.
So it could have been, also could have been a time where I was feeling down because, losing Erik was very rough for me. So sorry.
Don't be sorry. You can't be sorry because here we are.
There
You know
we
what I
go.
mean? Like, yeah, like and that's the catch-22 thing. That's the thing I love about it. It's like here we are still. It didn't matter. Me reaching out was just a catalyst to just get something going, but enough for my interest. And because there wasn't much response back, I remember thinking, okay, well maybe there's nothing to this. And then it was probably months later, but I stayed following you. I still followed you, and I watched your videos because I figured, even though getting in communication with you didn't happen the way I was trying to understand it, I was like, maybe there's an answer in these videos that I need to see that I'm not looking at. And then I kept thinking, well, maybe I need to be a channel. Maybe I need to really hone that skill. And then I kind of gave up on like the whole like what's the meaning of it type of deal. And I continued doing what I was doing. I was pro wrestling, doing coaching, right? And then you made a post that said something about Erik needing to, if I remember this correctly, you needed Erik, or no, I'm sorry, Erik was looking for life coaches or something for the Colorado event.
Okay.
That Kim Babcock at the time was going to run, and that you guys were going to interview life coaches for this thing. So I said, oh, okay, cool. I'm going to try out for that because I guess I'm a life coach. That's what I do,
Yeah.
So I looked at it as, oh, this is the reason. And then for whatever reason, I couldn't make Colorado, but Kim, we met over Skype, and she seemed to like my vibes. And then I met you, I think, through email. I think we did a formal thing, and then I went on the show, and here we are. And so I'm just telling the story a little bit about who I am and how I got involved in all this. But I come from the professional wrestling industry. I come from the entertainment industry. Always been a spiritual dude, but it's been interesting to see that my interest in spirituality and all the things that come with it has brought me kind of away from the entertainment business and put me more on this stage and platform right now, which I'm totally grateful for. I'm having a good time.
Well, it's really interesting that you come from the pro wrestling world, because that's something that, man, you don't want to give up. You have to have trust that you're going to get out of there alive. I don't know. I mean, it takes a lot of fortitude and tenacity in that business. And how did you get into that?
Oh yeah, it's tough business. I think any business in the entertainment world is going to be tough, but this is an interesting story. Yeah, so I mean, wrestling as a kid growing up, that had horrible abilities to just focus or even retain information. The only thing that I was able to really like think about all the time was pro wrestling, because we had what you call a cheater box. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Cheater box. Okay, cheater box back in the early 90s is a device that gives you all access to pay-per-view channels for free.
Oh, all right. They have those now. I don't know how they could be actually sell things like that. Get like 5 million channels on this because of this little bitty, whatever, digital antenna. Yeah.
No kidding. Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, we had one of those. I forgot how we got it. I think my mom's brother or whatever, yada, yada, yada. But we had access to all pay-per-views. So wrestling in my family was huge. And I have a twin brother and an older brother. And we were all wrestling fanatics. Yeah. And I remember when I was 4 years old, I had a clear vision of when I was watching wrestling. I saw myself doing it. Like I saw myself at the WWE. At the time it was called WWF, but I saw myself, I had a vision and I just knew. And from that point forward, like I was so obsessed with pro wrestling. And, you know, they talk about how thoughts create reality, this and that. One of the things that the way that I could tell people that is a true thing, at least for me, is that by the age of 17, I was obsessed with wrestling, by the way, all these years. So since 4, I knew I was going to do it.
Wow.
I remember telling my guidance counselor in high school, she was like, hey, Jamin, what do you want to do when you're older? Like, do you want to go to college? You know? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, well, what kind of classes are you interested in? I said, well, I'm interested in psychology, but I think I want to maybe do college and pro wrestling at the same time. And she goes, well, you can't do that. You know, you got to focus on one career, honey, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, yeah, I know, but I think I could really excel at pro wrestling. And she's like, Jamin, come on. And I remember she put her hand on my shoulder. She's like, getting into pro wrestling is trying to make the NFL, you know, so we're going to have to be a little bit more realistic.
Oh my God. Really?
Yeah, I'll never.
Jeez.
Yeah, and there's a payoff to this because when I was 17, I to this day he's a mentor of mine. His name is Ray, and I think Ray is a legitimate alien. I don't even think he's a real human being. But wow. Ray came into my life. I was doing an autograph signing after a local show. I begged my mom to sign me up to a wrestling school. I was 17 years old. I wasn't 18 yet, so she did it, knowing that it was all I loved. We would have these local shows, and luckily these local shows would draw a lot of people, you know, 500 to 600 people. It was really good.
Wow, that's awesome.
It was like the perfect situation to be in if you're just a local kid that wants to be a wrestler. And we would do this autograph signing, and this guy came up to me. And at the time, Ray was in his 60s, or he was probably 60. He comes up to me and he slides me his card, and he's just like, hey, what are your goals? And I said, oh, well, my goals are to make it to the WWE, and I'm signing his thing, and I give it back to him. And he goes, no, you keep that card. You keep that card. Why don't you stay in touch with me? And I was just like, okay, sure. So he's like, email me on Monday, yada, yada, yada. Okay, cool. Thanks, man. And went on with the day. I emailed the dude, and he's like, oh, well, let's meet up for lunch. Let's talk more about your goals. And I was just like, and I told my mom about it. My mom's always been very protective of me. So I tell her everything. So I was just like, hey, Mom, you know, what do you think I should do here? And she's like, don't do it. This is a stranger. Like, I don't trust this.
Yeah, it's like, oh, my God, the pedophile radar went up on her probably.
Totally. She told me to actually directly message him and say, hey, look, if you're looking for any sex or anything like that, the answer is no. So I wrote that. I did what she told me.
Oh, my God.
He wrote me back and he said, I promise this has nothing to do with anything like that. I see a lot of potential in you, and I think maybe I could help you. Okay. So I tell my mom, I said, Mom, my gut is telling me that I should meet this gentleman. So she said, okay, meet him so we all agreed that we were going to meet at this like local restaurant, and she waited in the parking lot with me, or for me while I went inside. I went in, it was a great meeting. Ray, and long story short, gave me $150,000, changed my entire life, and helped me get into the most prestigious school in the United States, which is called Ohio Valley Wrestling, which is here in Louisville, Kentucky. This is where I live now. Yeah. So Louisville, Ohio Valley Wrestling is like the Harvard of pro wrestling. If you want to make it to the WWE, you've got to go to Ohio Valley Wrestling. Otherwise, you could do it the other way, doing the small shows and maybe make a name, yada, yada, yada. I didn't do that. So it was easy for me to drop, I think, whatever it was, $3,500 at that time to get in the school. I enrolled in it. I immediately was a standout, and the career started taking off from there. And if it wasn't for Ray, it would have been so much harder, because I know there's a lot of guys that bust their ass and they have to work jobs 40 hours a week. I didn't have a job. My job was to train, was to eat right, and be the very best I can. He gave me that opportunity. To this day, we talk once a day. And we don't see each other much over the years, but he's in his 70s now, but he is such a light in my life. And I remember, like, it's going back to out of body exploration. I would ask these beings that I see on the other side, who is Ray? Who is Ray to me? And they would be like, oh, well, ray of sunshine, ray of light. And I'm like, oh, okay. It was just,
Oh,
I was just like, oh,
nice.
okay. But Ray's always been quirky. He's never been, he's not like, he was a school teacher growing up, but like, he just had he has a quirkiness to him that doesn't that I feel like he's not a human. And I tell him that all the time. I go, I know you're not human. Like you're such an interesting dude. Like he has no emotion. I could say, hey Ray, I like when I got in wrestling in my beginning years, I tried some drugs. You meet these people, they're famous, you think it's cool to do the thing. So I tried it, but I would tell them everything. I'd be like, hey Ray, I tried some drugs today. I won't do it anymore though. It was just something I tried. And he'd be like, oh, okay, well, no problem. That's what life's all about. You just try it and just don't get hooked. And he's just
Oh my
a very
God.
non-emotional dude, but he's always been like a father figure to me. And as I'm sitting here talking about this, the amount of gratitude I feel for him being in my life and the amount of gratitude I feel for you guys and what I'm experiencing now continues to just blossom. So thank you to him and thank you to you
Oh, thank you to
for allowing
you.
this to happen. Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, there was a pro wrestler that recently passed away, right?
Bruno Sammartino.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Bruno was I didn't know him, but a lot of the people I worked with just knew him, said he was amazing. Heard
Oh,
nothing but great things about him. He was one of the good guys. In the
yeah.
pro wrestling industry, there's a lot of lying and backstabbing,
Oh
and it gets so
no.
exhausted. It gets so exhausting. Like it's always you got to put on the face for a minute, and I enjoyed it to a certain extent, but it did wear on me as I started getting older. As I started to mature, I was like, I don't know if this is the right direction for me. And as I'm talking to you now, I'm still involved in the business in a lot of ways, but on my terms.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
working for the WWE is where everybody aspires to be, and it's a great company. But if you don't want to be, for me, it was like about being with my family. When you're gone 300 and whatever days a year, you're home once or twice a week. It doesn't seem exciting to me as I get older because my daughter's starting to grow. My daughter's
Oh
10 years
yeah.
old now, and
Oh yeah.
she's my everything. She's like
Oh.
everything to me.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
yeah, the last few years channeling Erik, everything you guys have done has almost taken me out of an egotistical version of Jamin Olivencia and puts me back into maybe who I really am,
Yeah.
who I've always been,
The authentic
aligning
you.
with my purpose. So
Right, right. That's interesting. So, what's the most common thing that problem that people come to you with? There's probably several, obviously, but what do you see the most? They're
I
stuck.
see.
There's so many things.
It's interesting how you mentioned that question because a lot of I see patterns. Like I'll get pockets of people that will come to me, and I'll notice these pockets are almost the same issue, and I find that to be so intriguing. It's never like they're all spread out. It's almost like a pocket here. I feel like that's a lesson for me to learn. A pocket here, I feel like it's a lesson for me. So one of the lessons is that I see a lot is people are afraid to break out of their shell.
Mm.
They're afraid to take more action. They're afraid to just jump out and get whatever it is they want. They know it intellectually, but their bodies can't do it for some reason. They're just
Yeah.
afraid. And so some advice I would have for like anybody, just in general, if whoever's listening to this, that's like an introvert and that's like afraid to like be more open, I guess. I think an exercise I have for you is like, at least talk to 5 people a day. Go out of your way, put yourself in some vulnerable situations where you meet people you don't know, whether it's a cashier at the gas station or whatever. Like, go and actually ask them, how was your day? Like, start up a conversation. And don't just do it because you want to or whatever. Do it because you actually feel that. Like,
Right.
that's like true connection, you know?
That
And
is. When I did an experiment going through McDonald's, the drive-through, most of the time we said, "Okay, thank you," blah blah blah. But when you actually look at their eyes and say, thank you, have a good day, and like your eyes are looking at their soul, their whole countenance changes. Their whole energy changes because they feel that connection. So
absolutely. That's what happens. That's simple basic connection 101. Like there's no other way to simplify what you just said. Like meet someone, look them in the eyes. That's a lost art today. And to anybody who's younger, that's inspiring to be an entrepreneur or to do whatever it is they want to do in their life, I highly, highly, highly recommend that if you look at someone in the eyes, you shake their hand and you just give them your name, that's something they're going to feel, and it's something that's not done a lot today. Everybody's very busy being on their devices, and they're so used to getting all this intel coming at them that they don't even know how to unravel it anymore. So going into like what else I'm starting to see recently is lack of communication. Lack of communication is becoming, from my perspective, the reason why people are fighting all the time. And it's not that you're lacking telling the truth, it's how you tell the truth. It's your approach when telling the truth. You know, some of us can, I don't know, an example, this is a shitty example, but like if you know someone's bullshitting you about something, there's pride that people get in calling them out on their bullshit. And that ego, taking that energy with it, it only ignites their ego. So
it's like, hey, I won. This round goes to me. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it becomes a pissing contest.
Yes.
And it's like, for what? Like, okay, and okay, let's just say you win anyway. You leave that now moment with the feeling of someone feeling exactly the way you do, because everything's a reflection, right? It's why it's like blah 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 blah. Now you get that reaction. It's very simple mathematics to me. Like I think it's that simple. So communication with others, I think is vital. I mean, and I think what people avoid in communication is the pain they might feel that comes with it. Maybe because let's admit it. And you've been married. I'm not married, but like I'm sure you and your husband have had to have a lot of uncomfortable conversations over the years.
Oh yeah.
And it was vital that you had those uncomfortable conversations in order to grow. Pain accelerates healing. It's that simple.
True. No pain, no gain.
Yeah, if you can't feel it, you know, and I think that's what was happening today is people are learning the art of avoiding. And that's what kind of makes me a little weird about spirituality sometimes. Not everything, but like the way I see it, at least. Sometimes there's teachings that teach you how to avoid it. It's like, you just got to be positive. You just got to be positive. You just got to be positive.
No.
And pushing that to the side is going to bottle up eventually. You know what I mean? It's going to end up, eventually you're going to end up blowing up. You're going to end up feeling something because you're avoiding all that pain. And that pain is the lessons. It's the pages of the book. You can't go from the front cover and skip to the end and assume that you didn't read anything in the middle. You just can't. You can, but you're going to lose a lot of information. That information being experiences and feelings and things like that help really help you become who you are and what you are. You don't know who you are until your back's against the wall.
That is so true. And you know, to get in there in the foxholes or the ring and wrestle with those problems. Yeah, it's a little scary, but dude, we're eternal beings. What is the worst that could happen to us? Seriously. But if you just look at everything that is causing any suffering or pain and try to find the value in it, then it's so easy to just be able to say, oh my God, I'm so grateful for this because it gave me lesson X or lesson Y, and now I could just embrace it and let it go, and the suffering goes away, and then all of a sudden you have grown. I mean, like me, and you know, I was raised with a lot of emotional and physical abuse as a child, and I'm so happy I had that. I really am, because it has taught me to be assertive. It has taught me to be compassionate. It made me very nurturing, much to the dismay and annoyance of all my kids. But yeah, so I found value in it, and that's why you can't just be positive. You have to really be emotionally honest with yourself. Yep. And tackle all these problems and find the value, because there's always value. Always.
I don't think you're experiencing what you're experiencing now without some type of purpose behind that. Even, and I'm sure this is very sensitive to you, and I don't want to get too much onto it, but even Erik, like this circumstance has caused you. It has caused you to fucking dig deep. And so many ways that I could never fathom or understand. However, what you're doing right now for so many people is absolutely astounding. And what he is doing for people is absolutely astounding. This is what's changing the course of things. And he's not here in the physical, and that's got to suck every day for you.
Oh, yeah.
But this is the closest you're getting to it all. And I find that so beautiful, and I commend you for your courage to do it. Because I don't know, Lisa, it just seems to me that you're living your truth, and I think that's a special thing. I think it's special when you could just be you and not have to play to others' expectations but your own.
Thanks. No, I was raised trying to live up to other people's expectations. So I'm done with that, man. You get to an age it's like, no. Here I am. You get what you see. So.
What kind of doctor are you?
Internal medicine. Internist.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. That'd be so tough. I couldn't do it.
Oh, it's fun. I loved it. But I'm retired now. But all right. So, who would benefit from you, and how can they get in touch with you? I know you've worked wonders on my son Lucas. You've really brought him around. And,
I love Lucas.
And I'm going to have a session with you right after this. So
so it'll be fun. Yeah, I want to make it really clear to anybody who works with me. Don't expect a formula. Don't expect a plan for me to put you on. I don't believe in that. All I'm going to do is just to show you more of you. And if you're open to working with me, if you're open to being honest, then we're going to find an answer. That's my only guarantee I can give you. If you can be honest with me, you're going to find an answer. If you can't be honest, you're not going to get shit out of me. And I'm not going to get shit out of you. It's just the way life works. It's the way energy works. So, yeah, anybody can benefit from me. I not even from a standpoint of like, oh, I'm having problems. It could be from the standpoint of, hey, I'm doing really good, and I want to excel this more. I want to take this to the next level. I believe in attacking your stuff, and I believe in staying sharp. And what my conversations do for people is it keeps you sharp, keeps me sharp. I love it, and still continuing to grow. I'm getting involved with working with high schools across the country, having meaningful discussions with kids instead of getting up on a soapbox and talking about what I have done in my life. I'm asking people what are their challenges and getting them to open up. And that is the key to everything. If we think it's not, then then that's cool. That's your belief system. But you can get in contact with me, Jamin, Jamin. My last name, Olivencia, Olivencia, at .com, or jamin.olivencia@gmail.com is my email address. You guys can find me on social media at the 11th Warrior for Instagram, and that's 11th 11th Warrior. And also Twitter. So, find me on Facebook, friend me. I don't have a business.
And YouTube, you have the 11th Warrior YouTube channel. He's got some very short, for you guys with bad attention spans like me, videos that are very poetic and really well produced. So, check some of those out too.
Thank you. Yeah, that's just me expressing just myself. Like, I believe my purpose on earth is to just be a light, and that's it. And if it resonates with you, then wonderful. We'll have a good time. If it doesn't, that's cool. I appreciate you being in my life anyway. So it's all about having a good time. These are my belief systems. I just believe in inspiring people, and I'll continue to do it probably till the day I die. That's my mission. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I'm just so honored to have met you. And Lucas and you guys are besties. He just adores you. So, yeah, that sounds great. And I will put his information, guys, on this YouTube. And thank you for listening. Jamin, thank you so much for doing this. And, I loved hearing the story on how you and Erik, oh, my gosh, that's cool. All right. Bye.
Ciao, guys.
Bye-bye.